Episode 1: Storm of Fate. Audrey Malcolm gasped when her phone chimed. Her eyes widened with anticipation as she darted to the bed, flinging the heap of dirty clothes she carried aside. She grabbed her cracked phone and stared at the screen. Oh God, she had the job! Excitement surged through her, a dizzying thrill that left her momentarily weightless. Could this mean she would see Mafia boss Leslie Russell again? Yes! After what felt like an eternity, it seemed possible. Audrey's mind raced. She hoped he still cared for her, or at least that he hadn't forgotten. She longed to tell him about the harrowing attempts to visit him in the hospital, and how cruel Krishna Kali had been, claiming him as hers. Jealousy burned in her chest as she recalled that bitter moment. Was Krishna Kali really his girlfriend? No, that couldn't be. Her thoughts tangled with anxiety and anticipation. Leslie had never mentioned her during their date, yet the thought of confronting the most feared and ruthless billionaire in California sent a shiver through her. A commoner like Audrey should never have dared to stand before him, but somehow she had. And it all began on one stormy night. Audrey Malcolm, the poorest girl in town, had grown up with hardship. A school dropout with a broken family, her life was marked by trauma, low self-esteem, and panic attacks. Her father, a drug addict and drunkard, had little concern for her family. Her mother, a homemaker in name only, lived as a servant to him. They could barely manage a proper meal. Her father owed money to nearly every wealthy man in California, not for the family's sake, but to feed his addictions. Most creditors turned a blind eye, but Wilbur, his childhood friend, did not. One day, her father had offered her as a wife to Wilbur. She refused, and life at home turned toxic. That stormy night, Wilbur tried to coerce her into marriage at his mansion. Audrey refused again, knowing that although this might elevate their family's status, it was a compromise she could not accept. In a furious rage, Wilbur threw her out into the storm, leaving her alone in her thin, tattered dress. As she struggled through the downpour, she stumbled into a convoy of exotic black cars, headlights piercing the night. One door swung open, and she saw him, Leslie Russell. Audrey had heard tales of his power, his wealth, and his unyielding control, yet nothing could have prepared her for the sight of him in person. Drenched, shivering, and trembling, she looked up at him, spellbound. "Come in," he said, his voice calm but laced with a sharp curiosity. She stepped into the car, the scent of his masculinity and wealth immediately overwhelming her. The chill of the car made her chest ache, but she forced herself to sit upright, staring at her numb fingers. She dared not meet his gaze. Where were they headed? Should she say something, thank him, explain herself? Summoning her courage, Audrey lifted her head. Leslie's gaze met hers, one brow raised as if evaluating her. "Have this," he said softly, removing his corporate shirt and extending it toward her. No, please," she whispered, voice trembling. "It's your shirt and white." "White? Important? You're freezing. Use it," he said, matter-of-factly. Her tiny fingers brushed against his skin as she took the shirt, eyes unintentionally drawn to his perfect chest. Defined, powerful, and impossibly fit, his body left her momentarily breathless. She looked away quickly, embarrassed, though he sensed his steady gaze upon her. Carefully, she used the shirt to dry herself, aware of its value and the unusual intimacy of the gesture. He did not mind. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice soft yet edged with authority. I'm Audrey," she stammered, shivering, longing to be held. His glittering, stern gaze swept over her, and she quickly lowered her eyes. "Why were you out in the storm so late?" he asked, emotionless. Audrey tightened her lips, unable to explain being thrown out over a rejected marriage proposal. Tears threatened to spill, but she blinked them back. The last thing she wanted was to cry.